this time, there were 3,386 cases in this country and 65 deaths. Tonight, by CNN's count, more than 1,000 more new cases reported, 4,412 and 81 deaths, all in just one 24-hour period. That is unprecedented for this country. We also heard an admission from President Trump today that this pandemic will not be over anytime soon. Could go on until at least July or August, he said. Markets again fell dramatically today. The Dow down nearly 3,000 points, its biggest one-day drop ever, despite emergency measures taken by the Federal Reserve on Sunday, or perhaps even in lieu of them, because of them. Today, the president also made this admission when asked if the economy is headed today toward a recession. He responded, quote, "It may be." Fear gripping the markets. Also, worries aboard a JFK flight this evening grounded on the tarmac as we've learned the captain is believed to have coronavirus. I'll have more of that in a moment. As Washington works on a relief bill, the White House Coronavirus Task Force issued new guidelines today to combat the spread of the coronavirus. Among other actions, they ask everyone who can, particularly older Americans, to stay home. Critically, they say to avoid gatherings in groups of more than 10, not the 50 that were recommended just yesterday, but 10. Heeding the words of state and local officials is actually number one on that list of guidelines issued today. New Jersey mobilized the National Guard today, instituted a curfew of 8 p.m. Pennsylvania's governor has ordered a statewide shutdown. 6 counties in the San Francisco Bay Area have issued a shelter-in-place order, which means that residents have to stay at home. It's similar to something that Italy, Spain, and now France have instituted. The president also said he's not looking at a nationwide quarantine, contrary to an internet rumor, but he did say that isolated ones in certain areas of the country may occur. But all in all, it was a sobering list of guidelines for all of Americans, as the reality of this virus has hit and hit hard. Erica Hill starts us off in Times Square for a look at the impact there and across the country. Erica, pretty dramatic shift in American life today.
There certainly is, and here in Times Square, anybody who's ever seen a picture of Times Square knows that it is normally bustling, certainly at this hour of the day, with tourists, but also with folks who work in the buildings all around this area. Throughout the day, it has been quiet. A few more people trickling in this evening, but this really illustrated of what is changing around the country. And as you said, Anderson, many of those changes coming at the local and state level. An eerily quiet Times Square, the latest reminder that life today is different and will be for some time.
This afternoon, we're announcing new guidelines for every American to follow over the next 15 days. Avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people. Avoid discretionary travel.
The guidelines were announced on the heels of several states enacting new operating hours and restrictions for restaurants and bars, now shifting to takeout only.
Many people will get in their car and they'll drive to Connecticut to go to a bar, which is the last thing we want.
Movie theaters, gyms, and casinos will be closed indefinitely. And New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio made it clear more changes could be coming to his city.
I have been asked repeatedly, are we considering travel restrictions? Are we considering curfews? We are considering everything is the answer. Every option, every tool is on the table. We will decide in turn when we want to employ each.
The Surgeon General warns decisions made today will determine much of what happens tomorrow.
We have a choice to make. Do we want to really lean into social distancing and mitigation strategies and flatten the curve, or do we just want to keep going on with business as usual and end up being Italy?
For millions of families starting the week with children at home, it is far from business as usual. Parents are learning to teach while also trying to work.
It would not surprise me at all if schools did not open again this year.
Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie calling on the president to close all schools nationwide through May 11th. Ohio announced tomorrow's primary will now be held in June. Life on hold, and nearly every industry bracing. Concert tours, sporting events, daycare. Businesses large and small in limbo. Walmart is cutting back hours to give stores a chance to restock the shelves, while markets ration some of the most sought-after items, including milk and cleaning products.
Were you able to get everything that you needed this morning?
Almost. Doctors are increasingly concerned about their own supplies, including the nation's stock of life-saving ventilators. The president today recommended states find those supplies on their own, rather than wait for the federal government.
And Eric is there. Erica, when you recorded that, Ohio had talked about delaying it. They've now said that they are going to go ahead tomorrow with voting. How are hospitals in New York handling the rise in cases?
So this is a major concern for the mayor, and today he addressed that. He actually called this a race against time, Anderson. He said they're expediting discharges, they're canceling elective surgeries across the city, bringing new facilities online, and even retrofitting some facilities that have nothing to do with healthcare. In the words of the mayor, he's asking for some military medical units to be brought in to help out as well, and offered a very stern warning to residents of New York City, saying if you don't need to go to the emergency room, don't, that there will be people outside, they will be checking, and if it's not an urgent need, you could be turned away, Anderson.
Yeah, and in fact,